Is the West finally catching up? Jungkook becomes the only Asian named a global icon by AOL, and the question the industry can no longer avoid is this the moment the Western entertainment industry finally stopped pretending not to see what fans have been screaming for years? Or is it an overdue acknowledgement that arrived far too late to change the truth everyone already knew? When AOL released its list of 15 global icons and placed Jungkook, and only Jungkook, as the sole Asian figure among names like Cristiano Ronaldo, Taylor Swift, Beyonce, Elon Musk, and Barack Obama, the reaction was immediate, emotional, and explosive. But behind the celebration, a sharper question began to echo across timelines, comment sections, and global fan communities. Is this recognition proof that K-pop has officially conquered the West, or is it simply confirmation of Jungkook's dominance that the industry has quietly benefited from while refusing to say out loud? From the very first seconds the news broke, something felt different. This was not another chart update, not another viral performance, not another streaming milestone that could be dismissed as fan-driven. This was AOL, a legacy American digital media company, placing Jungkook inside a list meant to answer a deceptively simple yet powerful question. Who is the most famous person in the world right now? And in that answer, Jungkook stood alone as the only representative of Asia, positioned at number 15, surrounded by Western superstars whose names have defined global pop culture for decades. The timing raised eyebrows. The framing sparked debate. And the silence from certain corners of the Western industry spoke louder than any headline. Because the truth is uncomfortable for some, Jungkook did not suddenly become influential in 2026. He did not wake up one morning and magically earn global relevance. His dominance has been measurable, visible, and undeniable for years. The only thing that changed is who finally decided to acknowledge it. AOL's list titled, "Who is the most famous person in the world?" Meet 15 global icons, places Jungkook alongside figures whose influence stretches far beyond entertainment. Cristiano Ronaldo tops the list, followed by Lionel Messi, Selena Gomez, Justin Bieber, Taylor Swift, Ariana Grande, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Dwayne Johnson, Kylie Jenner, Jennifer Lopez, Beyonce, Barack Obama, and finally, Jungkook. The presence of Jungkook among politicians, tech billionaires, and cultural titans is not symbolic. It is disruptive, and that disruption is exactly what fans seized on. Within minutes of the announcement spreading through X, formerly Twitter, via the widely followed account at the Popcore, army around the world reacted with a mix of pride and pointed sarcasm. Jungkook, you're so impactful, one fan wrote, while another added, so now they finally see it. Others were more direct, calling the recognition late, overdue, and proof that Western media only reacts when it can no longer ignore the numbers. Those numbers, after all, have been screaming for years. Jungkook's journey from BTS's youngest member to a solo artist who consistently bends global metrics in his favor has been anything but subtle. His collaboration left and right, with Charlie Puth-dominated charts and radio rotations. 7, featuring Latto, didn't just perform well. It debuted at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, the Global 200, and the US chart simultaneously, a feat that even many Western A-listers struggle to achieve. His FIFA World Cup 2022 anthem, Dreamers, turned him into a symbol of global unity on one of the largest stages imaginable, watched by billions across continents. Then there was January 2023, when Jungkook became the first Asian artist to surpass 100 million live viewers on YouTube during a single broadcast. No Western gatekeeper handed him that achievement. No industry committee voted on it. The audience chose him, and yet, despite all this, discussions about Western acceptance of K-pop have persisted, often framed as if artists like Jungkook are still knocking on a door that may or may not open. AOL's list, intentionally or not, may have just exposed how outdated that narrative has become. Because what does it really mean when a Western media outlet labels Jungkook a global icon, while acknowledging that he is the only Asian figure worthy of inclusion? Is it a celebration of diversity, or an admission that Asia's cultural power has been systematically underrepresented despite its global impact? AOL's own description of Jungkook is telling. They highlight his evolution from BTS member to boundary-breaking solo artist, his chart-topping collaborations, his World Cup performance, and his record-setting live viewership. They describe him as a multi-talented billionaire figure: singer, rapper, songwriter, director, producer, and art enthusiast. This is not the language of a niche idol. This is the vocabulary reserved for cultural architects, yet fans were quick to point out inconsistencies. AOL cited Jungkook's Instagram following as 9.4 million, a number that, even at the time of publication, lagged far behind reality. To many, this detail symbolized a larger issue: Western media acknowledging Jungkook's power while still failing to fully grasp its scale, and that disconnect fueled the fire. Why? Fans asked, does it take a list dominated by Western figures for Jungkook's influence to be framed as global, when his reach has long extended beyond borders that Western media traditionally centers? Why is Asia represented by a single name when K-pop, K-drama, and Asian pop culture have been shaping global trends, fashion, music consumption, and digital engagement for years? Some industry watchers argue that Jungkook's inclusion is a turning point, a sign that the Western entertainment establishment can no longer maintain the illusion that global culture flows in one direction. Others see it as a strategic move, a way to align with unstoppable momentum rather than challenge it. What is undeniable is the emotional resonance of this moment. For many fans, especially across Asia, Jungkook's presence on the list feels personal. It feels like representation that has been hard-earned, fought for through streaming marathons, sold-out tours, viral moments, and unwavering loyalty. It feels like validation not just of one artist, but of an entire generation that grew up watching Asian talent be sidelined, underestimated, or labeled as regional. At the same time, the question lingers uncomfortably in the background. If Jungkook is the only Asian global icon acknowledged by AOL, what does that say about the industry's criteria for influence? Are they measuring impact, or familiarity, power, or proximity to Western media ecosystems? The debate quickly expanded beyond Jungkook himself. Commentators began asking whether this recognition signals a broader shift or simply isolates Jungkook as an exception rather than part of a movement. Is he being celebrated as a bridge, or positioned as a singular anomaly that allows the system to avoid deeper structural change? What complicates the conversation further is Jungkook's timing. This recognition arrives while he is in a phase of his career defined by solo success, artistic exploration, and global collaborations. His debut album, Golden, shattered streaming records and reinforced his ability to stand alone without relying on BTS's group identity, even as the group's legacy continues to loom large over global pop culture. In that sense, AOL's list doesn't just recognize Jungkook the idol. It recognizes Jungkook the individual brand, the standalone force, the name that can exist comfortably beside tech moguls and political leaders without explanation. And that, perhaps, is what unsettles some observers. Because once an Asian artist is framed not as a genre representative, but as a universal icon, the old categories start to collapse. K-pop becomes less of a box and more of a historical footnote. Jungkook is no longer breaking into the Western market. He is shaping the global one. The reaction from fans captured this shift perfectly. Pride mixed with defiance. Celebration tinged with critique. Joy sharpened by memory. Many armies celebrated Jungkook's achievement while simultaneously calling out the industry for what they see as years of selective blindness. They're finally saying it out loud. One viral post read, "But we've known this." And maybe that is the most powerful takeaway from this moment. AOL's list did not create Jungkook's influence. It documented it, belatedly, imperfectly, and under intense public scrutiny. The real recognition happened long before, in streaming numbers that dwarfed expectations, in stadiums filled across continents, in cultural shifts that made Korean lyrics singable in languages far from Seoul. So, when the question is asked, is the Western industry finally acknowledging K-pop's dominance? Or is this just a late recognition of Jungkook's unstoppable rise? The answer may be both. And neither. It may be that the industry is not leading the conversation at all, but chasing it, because, in the end, Jungkook's presence as the only Asian figure on AOL's global icons list does not ask whether he belongs there. It asks something far more unsettling. Why did it take this long for them to say what the world has already proven? And as the headlines fade and the debates continue, one truth remains impossible to ignore. Jungkook is no longer waiting for global recognition. The global industry is struggling to keep up with him, and the longer the conversation stretches, the clearer it becomes that Jungkook's inclusion on AOL's global icons list is not an isolated headline, but a mirror reflecting a much larger shift, one that the Western industry has sensed for years yet hesitated to articulate. Because once you look beyond the celebratory tweets and viral reactions, a deeper tension emerges. This moment forces a reckoning with how global influence is measured, who gets to define it, and why Asian power has so often required extraordinary proof to be treated as ordinary truth. For decades, the Western entertainment ecosystem positioned itself as the final gatekeeper of legitimacy. Charts, awards, magazine covers, and curated lists acted as validation stamps, silently implying that cultural impact was only truly global once it passed through American or European approval. K-pop, despite its explosive growth, was frequently framed as a trend, a novelty, or a fan-driven phenomenon rather than a structural force capable of reshaping the industry itself. Jungkook's placement on AOL's list quietly dismantles that framing because it does not describe him as an emerging figure or a rising star. It places him in the present tense of power. What makes this moment particularly striking is that AOL's list spans far beyond music. It blends sports legends, political leaders, tech magnates, and entertainment giants into a single narrative of influence. By positioning Jungkook among figures like Ronaldo, Messi, Obama, Musk, and Beyoncé, the list implies equivalence, not similarity of profession, but parity of reach. And that is where the discomfort begins for those still clinging to outdated hierarchies. Because how does an artist who sings primarily in Korean, emerged from a non-Western industry, and built his fame without traditional Western media pipelines end up sharing space with billionaires and heads of state? The answer is uncomfortable in its simplicity, because influence has outgrown borders, and Jungkook mastered that reality earlier than most institutions were willing to admit. Fans have long argued that Jungkook's power lies not only in numbers, but in presence. He does not merely accumulate streams, he mobilizes attention. When he releases music, platforms react. Algorithms shift. Media outlets scramble to contextualize what they cannot control. His live broadcasts feel less like content drops and more like global events, capable of pulling millions into a shared digital moment without intermediaries. This is why many fans reacted to AOL's announcement not with surprise, but with a sense of inevitability. To them, the list did not elevate Jungkook. It caught up to him, yet the phrasing, "the only Asian figure," carries its own weight. While it highlights Jungkook's exceptional status, it also exposes the narrow lens through which global influence is often filtered. Asia is not lacking in icons. It is lacking in recognition within systems that historically centered Western narratives. Jungkook's inclusion, then, becomes both a victory and a question mark. Is he opening a door, or being used to suggest that the door has always been open? The emotional response from ARMY reflects this duality. Pride is unmistakable, but so is skepticism. Many fans celebrated Jungkook's achievement while simultaneously critiquing AOL for presenting Asia as a singular presence rather than a vast cultural engine. Others pointed out that Jungkook's ranking at number 15, while still historic, feels symbolic of a system that acknowledges impact without fully surrendering the top tier of validation. And yet, even this ranking sparks debate. What does most famous truly mean in an era where fame is fragmented across platforms, cultures, and languages? Cristiano Ronaldo's dominance is undeniable, but Jungkook's fame operates differently. Less centralized, more participatory, deeply embedded in digital communities that defy traditional metrics. Fame today is not just about recognition. It is about resonance. And in that sense, Jungkook's influence is both vast and intimate. AOL's description of Jungkook as a multi-talented billionaire figure further complicates the narrative. The term itself feels almost surreal to fans who have followed his journey from a teenage trainee to a global superstar. It underscores how dramatically his image has shifted in mainstream Western discourse, from idol to entrepreneur, from performer to cultural asset. Yet even here, fans notice the distance between description and understanding. Jungkook is not merely a collection of skills. He is a symbol of a new model of stardom that blends